Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another virtual cooking class. My name is Kate Watts. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist with the Live Life Well employee well-being team here at Cone Health. Today, we are making a very budget-friendly recipe. It is tomato and tofu curry. If you haven't had curry before, curry is actually not just one dish. It can be made in a variety of different variations. Curry really refers to the use of curry powder and normally some other Indian-inspired spices. So we're going to be making a very mild curry today. It's a great introduction to the flavors of a curry without like a lot of spice. We are going to be using tofu as our plant protein today to make this a complete meal. And the use of tofu really makes this a very budget-friendly meal as well. So we wanted to celebrate budget-friendly recipes this month, and using tofu, it's a very affordable protein. It also doesn't have much flavor on its own. It takes on whatever flavor you combine it with. And so curry is a great introductory dish for tofu as well because of the strong flavors that the tofu is going to take on. And so again, it's going to help make it more flavorful if this is your first time working with tofu. This is a great dish to try out. So this recipe is from Dr. Yum, the Dr. Yum Project. So it's also geared towards kids and getting them to try new foods. So this is a great one to share with your little ones if you have kids at home as well. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to heat up our oil in our skillet. We're using coconut oil. This is just to marry well with the coconut milk flavors that we're going to be using. At the very end. So you can use any oil that you have, but I do have some coconut oil. So we're going to start out by heating our pan and adding in 2 tablespoons of coconut oil or your oil of choice. So I'm going to turn this on to medium high. And the coconut oil is going to be solid at room temperature, like that. But it's going to melt down very quickly in our pan. So there's a lot of kind of miscommunication out there about coconut oil. Is it like the super best ever healthiest choice? Is it not so healthy? So the main takeaway there is that coconut oil, even though it is an oil from plants like our other oils, it actually is mainly saturated fat. Whereas our other plant oils like olive oil, sunflower oil, grapeseed oil, those are more unsaturated fats. So the saturated fats are more likely to raise your cholesterol and hurt your heart health. So you want to limit saturated fats, and that includes coconut and palm oils. Also, another thing to think about with all fats is that they're all high in calories. So it really all comes down to the portion and how often you use them. Coconut oil can add a great different flavor, just something unique to use, especially for dishes like this one today. It goes very well. But again, you really want to watch the portion size. All right. Coconut oil is also very easy for people to use and digest. So for certain dietary types, coconut oil is a good choice. And then, of course, for people who consume mostly plants, they are not getting much saturated fat from animal products. So a little bit of saturated fat from something like a coconut oil is going to be okay in their overall diet, right? Okay. So we've got the oil heating up. We're going to get to work cutting off our onion because next in the pan, we're going to throw in our onions, garlic, and fresh ginger. So I'm just going to cut off the end of our onion on one side and then cut it in half. Now these two I'm going to dice, and I'm going to use this end over here. I'm going to leave that on so that it helps my onion kind of stay together while I dice it. So I'm going to peel off the skin here. Off that out of the way. Now this curry dish can be served over rice, over quinoa, over couscous. It could be served more as like a soup on its own, maybe with some naan bread to dip on the side. I'm going to be serving it over couscous today. So I already have on the stove some pearl couscous. All I did was bring 1.5 cups of water to a boil. Then I added a little bit of olive oil, a pinch of salt, and a cup of couscous. Stirred that together, and now that is simmering, covered on the stove to finish cooking the couscous, and that's what I'll serve my curry over. Okay, so let's dice up our onions. We're gonna slice long ways towards the root. And it says a whole onion here, so that is going to be a big base of our flavor. And you can use any onion you want. I'm using a Vidalia onion or a yellow onion. That's just my favorite. But you can use any kind of onion in this recipe. And if you're not big on dicing onions, you can also purchase pre-diced, or you can get frozen diced onions and just thaw those and use those in this recipe. All right, so we're going to come across for a nice dice. So there's our onions ready to go. I'm going to use our pre-minced garlic, store-bought minced garlic, but of course you could mince up 3 fresh cloves, cloves of garlic here. So for each clove, I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of a minced garlic. And then our last ingredient that we're going to add into our melted oil. Push that down to medium, is fresh ginger. So for our fresh ginger root, we need to first peel it, and then we're going to mince it or grate it. Let's see, the recipe calls for grated fresh ginger. And so I'm going to first, you can use a regular peeler if you'd like, and just pick whichever piece of the root you want to use, and then peel that. So you can also use a spoon. To me, I feel like a spoon helps get in the nooks and crannies of the garlic root. And you can just use the back of your spoon, and the skin or the peel of the ginger root is going to come off very easily. And that just kind of helps you get down into the grooves a little bit easier than with a peeler. Okay, so I've got that section of my ginger peeled, and I'm gonna grate it using like a little grater, a regular cheese grater, or these microplanes are really great. So I'm gonna use this. I just need 1/4 teaspoon, so I'm gonna grate it over my bowl. And you can also buy like a ginger paste in the grocery store and keep it in your fridge. I really love fresh ginger for this recipe. It really adds so much great flavor. And the rest of the ginger root you can keep in your fridge for about a week or so. Or if you want to keep it for longer, you can actually keep it in the freezer and just pull it out when you need it. So that's a great way to keep your fresh ginger root from going bad on you, is to keep it in the freezer. Okay, so I've got a good amount of my ginger sitting in that microplane, so I'm going to scrape it out with a spoon. Okay, so there is our 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. So let's add all this into our skillet. And it's nice and hot, warmed up with that oil, so you're going to hear a nice little sizzle when you add your ingredients. I'm going to do my garlic, 3 teaspoons. And my ginger. And then our onions that we chopped. Okay. So we've got it smelling good. Got our fan turned on, getting a little smoky in here. I'm going to clean off my cutting board and we'll go on to the next step. All right, let's give that a little stir. Those onions smell so good. You might want to stir it occasionally to keep that garlic from sticking. We're going to let that stir fry for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to add in our spices. So our main spices for curry are going to be a curry powder. For this recipe, we're going to combine that with turmeric and chili powder. So I've got those all measured out here. So after our onions start to soften a little bit, we're going to add in our spices and then let those heat up and then add in our tomatoes. So let's go ahead and get started cutting up our tomato. We're using 5 tomatoes in this recipe. I have mine on the vine. These are some of my favorite ones from the grocery store this time of year because we're not quite to our North Carolina summer tomatoes just yet. So these will have to do the trick. We're just going to cut them into little 1-inch cubes, and those are going to get tossed in after we do our spices. And we're going to let those cook down for about 5 minutes. So don't have to do anything fancy here, just a nice little 1-inch slice, cube, I mean. Nice little bite-sized pieces. So this is definitely a main component of the recipe here, the tomato flavor that we're going to cook down with the curry spices. Again, we're talking about budget-friendly meals here. You could certainly buy canned diced tomatoes as well, and then you'd really just be heating them versus, cooking them down. So that would be an option here as well. If you're joining us on our YouTube channel, you can find the recipe down in the description box below and leave us a comment. Let us know if you tried this one out. Just go ahead and add our spices and then we'll cut up our other 3 tomatoes. Smells amazing. So here's what it looks like so far. We've got our onions cooked down and we just added in all the spice, all that color, that bright yellow color. Okay, let's finish up these tomatoes so we can get them added. Our couscous is done as well. I'm going to quickly take that off the heat. So this is a great balanced meal with the protein from the tofu, our veggies that we're adding in with the tomatoes, some really great antioxidant action going on with the herbs and spices. And then we've got our grain with our couscous as the base. You could actually add even more vegetables to this dish as well. Something like a green pepper would go really well in here. Mushrooms would go really well. I love mushrooms in a curry. I actually have some. I should have pulled those out. And you could do some of this chopping ahead of time, and it would make for an even quicker dish coming together on a weeknight. It's already pretty fast. It cooks up really quickly. But this kind of prep portion could already be ready to go. You could throw it together really easily on a work night. All right, a few more here, tomatoes here. Okay, wow, that is a lot of tomatoes ready to go. Okay, let's give this a little stir. Let's add in all of our fresh tomatoes. All right. Here's our tomatoes. We're going to let those cook down. Okay, so those are going to cook for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to add in the tofu and some brown sugar, and then we're going to finish it off with our coconut milk. So for the tofu, I have bought a extra firm tofu. So that makes it pretty user friendly. It's not going to crumble too much on you. You still want to be very delicate when you're working with tofu. I did go ahead and drain it from the package, and then I've been letting it rest on paper towels and letting some of that liquid be pressed out of the tofu. Again, with it being an extra firm, you don't have to worry about pressing it too much. It's really just to get some of that extra liquid out. So now I should be able to pick up the block and put it on my cutting board. And now we're just going to cut the tofu into 1-inch squares as well. And this is a 14-ounce block of tofu. So you can do this kind of any way you want. I'm going to come through across here, I think. Okay. And now cut it into cubes going in this direction. Actually, I think I'm going to come this way first. Try to kind of keep the block together here. Okay. All right, that ought to do it. So our tofu is now cut into little 1-inch cubes. Okay. And we're going to add it into the pan along with some brown sugar once our tomatoes have cooked down a little bit. We're just going to do a tablespoon of brown sugar. Just wanted you to kind of see how they're cut. And then the last thing we're going to do as we cook this for about 4 or 5 minutes is add in our coconut milk. So I'll show you a little bit about that, but let's go ahead and add in this tofu. And you just want to very gently stir the tofu so that you don't break it apart and make it too crumbly. So let's add in our tablespoon of brown sugar. Okay. Just going to very gently incorporate everything. Being careful not to break that tofu up too much. Tomatoes are looking really good. They've released their juice. And so you're starting to get a little bit of a liquid, a thick liquid formed with the onions and ginger and garlic. And the more I stir, I'll show you how it looks now. The more I stir, the more coated that tofu is going to get in that yellow color from the curry powder and the turmeric. That classic curry look that we're going for here. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook for another few minutes, and then we're gonna add in our coconut milk, my favorite ingredient of this recipe. So this is just a canned coconut milk, and when you open it, you're gonna notice that there's a few solids on the top. So what you can do is just stir to incorporate that a little bit more. And sometimes it'll be very clearly separated with that thick layer on top and then liquid on the bottom. Sometimes it will be a little more incorporated, but you'll notice again those solids that sit on the top. So we give it a little stir. And then the recipe just calls for 1 cup of coconut milk. I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to measure that out here. Now, there's not much, probably another, let's see, this is a 13.5 fluid ounces. So another half cup or so in here. You can make a larger batch of this and use up your whole can, or coconut milk goes great in smoothies, or you can use it as a substitution for cream and other recipes, as long as you're okay with that coconut flavor being added to that recipe as well. Okay, so we've got our cup of coconut milk. And our last step is to add this and bring our curry up to a simmer. So we're just going to be looking for slight kind of bubbling as it simmers. Then we're going to finish it off with a little seasoning of salt and pepper. So I've got a half teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of pepper, and then we'll plate it up and try it together, okay? So let's go ahead and add in our coconut milk. Oh, so yummy. So I'm going to turn the heat up just slightly to medium high and let this simmer and get all incorporated. So you can definitely let this cook longer and the flavors marry together more. I'm going quickly for the time of our class today, but you can slow down this process a little bit and let things cook down a lot more, get your tofu more well done, get this sauce a little bit thicker. It's simmering now. I can already see a little bit of bubbling, boiling. So I'm going to give it a stir. And we're going to add in our salt and pepper. Okay, it's looking like a curry now. So it smells absolutely delicious. We're going to go and plate up our couscous. So let me show you what this looks like. So this is pearl couscous. So it is a thicker couscous. Just gonna, you can use a fork or a spoon to fluff it up a little bit. Yeah. So this is called Israeli or pearl couscous. It's a much thicker couscous. I love it. It's so yummy. It's got a really nice texture. So we're going to do a scoop of that on the bottom. And let me show you what our curry's looking like now. And the longer you let it kind of simmer away, the smoother that sauce is going to get. And then if you let it sit on low, the thicker that sauce is going to get. But here's what we're looking like now. Yum. Smells so good. Let's spoon it over. Get a little more of that sauce on here. There we go. Delicious, y'all. Looks so good. All right, let's see if I can take a bite here. So I encourage you to give this one a try. Something a little different than what we've been doing, right? And let's see what the verdict is. Mm. It's so good. It's so flavorful, nice and mild. It's a really comforting texture. Let me know if y'all try this one, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.